This is a review of the book Duck and Goose by Tad Hills. Duck and Goose both find a polka dot ball that they actually mistake for an egg. So they immediately both claim that they saw it first and that it belongs to them. They start fighting, but they're both actually pretty concerned about disturbing the baby bird that's inside the egg. So they start thinking maybe they need to work together a little bit. So they decide that they need to keep the egg warm until it's ready to hatch. So even though they're both kind of arguing for control over the egg, they still agree that they have to be quiet and not disturb the baby bird inside the egg. They start thinking of all the things that they want to teach their new baby, and they get really excited because they actually think it's time for the baby bird to hatch. But in all the excitement, what they don't realize is that there's actually a bluebird kicking their egg, asking if she can play with their ball too. This leads them to both kind of gulp and be like, you know what, I guess I did have some doubts. So even though they actually don't have an egg, they decide that they have a ball and it's still pretty awesome. This series has a whole bunch of other adorable books to check out as well. Here are some ways to use this book in speech therapy or even at home with your own child. You can work on story elements with them, like identifying the characters in the story and the setting. And you can also talk about story elements like the plot, so the beginning and the middle and the end of the story. So go ahead and screenshot these if you want to use what I came up with. When you're talking about the theme of the story, you might ask, why is it more important to work together as a team than to argue? You can also work on WH questions. Here are a few examples, and of course some vocabulary words. I like to focus on Tier 2 vocabulary words, and I always like to come up with kid-friendly definitions when we're working on these skills. You might even have your students draw pictures to go along with the definition. You could also easily work on spatial concepts after reading this book. Maybe just grab a plastic egg and print up a picture of a duck and a goose and work on concepts like behind and in front of. You could also do a fun team building activity, like a care for the egg activity, where you have students balance a plastic egg on a spoon and they take turns walking across the room in kind of like a race. I also wanted to let you know about this really helpful open-ended digital book companion. You can use it with any story. Just present your screen and you can go through, and you can also customize some of the questions in the slides, like this retell the story slide. You can customize those questions and the WH questions. You can type in a question that is more specific to that exact story. I'll put the link below. Hopefully you found these ideas useful. Let me know in the comments and make sure to follow along for more speech therapy content.